If you have a preference, feel free to send all the chairs available.
So, Jasmine, do you want to start it off?
Yes,
Start
sorry.
us off.
Just making sure we're live now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I'm part of the events team for Hexagon UX. There's other event team members here, Allison, Ava, Carrie, and Julia is also on the Hexagon leadership team. We just want to thank you all for coming out to our networking panel with Slalom Build designers. So, yay. Just have a couple of announcements and then I'll let them take it away. If you are new to Hexagon, we are a community of women and non-binary people who work somehow into the UX community, designers, researchers, writers, all types of roles. And we just support each other in our career journey wherever we are. Newbies, mid-level managers, we support you where you are and help you get to where you're going. Next. So here's the agenda tonight. We've just been mingling. Hope you've been enjoying the bingo, meeting some interesting people and fun facts. We're going through announcements now, and then we'll get to the panel. And then at the end, you will have a chance to continue meeting people and eating more food and just enjoying enjoying each other for the rest of the night. So you can continue. Yes, they are sponsoring this event tonight. So big round of applause for Slalom Build for making this entire event possible. And then,
So we also, Hexagon has a mentorship program. There's biannual, so twice yearly cohorts. I see a couple of y'all from this current cohort. So we have the fall 2023 cohort coming up, and it runs for 12 weeks. And so we basically, you apply, and we have mentors that sign up, and basically we pair you guys based on mutual fit. So there's a match event, so you guys get to meet the mentors and then work with them for 12 weeks. So the mentor applications, in case any Slalom Build or individuals with about 3 years or so of experience in UX would like to be a mentor. That's going to be opening up very soon, end of June. And then the mentee applications will open up July 7th. So, yeah.
thank you, Gabe. Let's see. We started something called SkillFlex about 2 years ago, and it's just an opportunity for members. You do not have to be a professional speaker or an expert in a topic, but if you are interested and you want to practice your presentation skills, we invite you to practice on our community. So this can be a topic of anything you're interested in, and you can give like a 15 to 20-minute presentation to the community on it. And like I said, it's just a way for you to practice your presentation skills, something, a way for the members to maybe learn something new. And yeah, you can scan this QR code and it'll just take you to a sign up, and we'll contact you from there. Thanks, please. All right, and then our next event is going to be Thursday, June 8th. It is another panel, but it's all about contracting and freelancing, and we are collaborating with UX San Antonio. We have a panel of 7 people, and they're agency owners, contractors themselves. We have a recruiter who recruits for long-term contractors, so we're really excited to connect you all to them and get all your answers on contracting answers, because we get it often. So we know this is a hot topic, so we're excited to bring this event to you all. So it will be virtual because we're in 2 different cities, kind of discussion, and you will get like an email or a meetup announcement once the page is up. And wait, she's taking okay.
No, sorry, don't get it.
And this QR code take you to our Notion hub, and so you'll see all our past events. We're always sharing resources, so you'll see every single resource we've shared about portfolios. We'll link things from tonight there about networking, design, research, photography, like all of that is there in our Notion hub. So you can check that out. And we can share these slides with you all later too. So you all have this info.
Six. I see you guys. I see you. Don't worry. Take your time.
All right. And so now I'm going to let everyone else because we all can do that fast.
So here, Julie, you go first.
I go first. Okay, I go
And
first.
I'll introduce myself.
Okay, sure. Sounds good. So, hi everyone. I'm Julie. I am a budding UI UX designer, and I will be one of your moderators for today, along with Carrie. Who will. That's it. I have nothing else to say.
Thanks, Julie. So I'm Carrie. I'm a UX researcher. I work at a small consulting firm called Three Leaf Consulting. And I'm also the mentorship co-lead. So that's why I was announcing about the mentorship cohort. And I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists. So starting off with Emmy Inohado. So Emmy is a senior experience designer at Slalom Build. She graduated with a degree in psychology and a minor in visual arts from Boston University, where she founded and ran the only student design community, first and only student design community with over 200 members. And she's also an avid runner with the goal of running a marathon in every continent, which is very cool. And also considers herself a Ravenclaw with a dash of Hufflepuff. Next, we have Jane Shao. And Jane Shao is the principal designer and the associate director of product design at Slalom Build. She has a background in the social sciences and architecture and was one of the co-founders of our Houston chapter of Hexagon UX. And she's also a dog mom to the floofiest Mr. Milo and an avid science fiction reader.
Wait, I gotta know what breed is Milo.
Havanese.
Havanese. That is fluffy.
And then last but not least, we have Julie Lowe. Julie is the director of experience design at Slalom Build. She has almost 15 years of experience working in UX, where she's led teams in various industries, including oil and gas, consulting, and software development. She's also an avid DIYer and swing dancer and a farmer, just where she
Yes, yeah, it all fits good.
yeah, she can perhaps explain that.
Confused also sometimes. So I have a farm in Sealy, so just west of Houston, and we raise pigs, chickens, ducks, sheep. We partner with other ranchers for beef, and we bring everything to the farmers market for direct farm to consumer beef.
Which farm is that?
We go to the farmers market on Grand Parkway in Katy, and then we also go to the Tamina Farmers Market in Magnolia.
Okay, wow. Pretty cool, right?
I'll let you keep it.
Yes,
Okay.
you guys have more important things to say.
Well, maybe I'll just walk over there.
So basically, networking is more than job hunting. The gist of networking, as we've heard it defined, is simply connecting and reconnecting with people. And there are various purposes for networking. One includes, of course, job hunting. And it also, how and why you might network changes through your career. So we wanted to ask you guys, in that light, Julie, what have you found as the reason for why you go about networking?
Sure. So yes, this has definitely changed over the course of my career. At first, it was to find connections, to find jobs, to find connections, to learn more. Now it's really, I want to connect to the community. I want to know who's out there, because when I have an opportunity open up on my team, I want to know all the unique snowflakes and a little bit about your journey. So that way we can find the right fit. It's kind of an interesting thing because often like the really cool people that like to show up and talk about work after work, they are super motivated. They're going to have lovely jobs and lovely things. And so often our connections don't quite work at that point, like the first point in time. But that's why I want to maintain the relationship over time because eventually, hopefully, the journeys will cross and we can find that right connection.
And so maybe, so you have a director position, but I'm curious, Emmy, for you, what is kind of the purpose that you've used networking kind of most recently and in the
Yeah, so to give a little bit of a background, I found UX design about 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. And so whenever I was a college student and I was looking into UX design, my purpose of networking was to see if the career field was something that I wanted to pursue. And so at the time, I was also looking into other career avenues like marketing, medical illustration, a lot of other things. So my purpose in networking was just to really find like cool people that are doing really interesting things that was thinking about pursuing and seeing what they do for a living and if it was something that I was looking to do more of. So that was like my original purpose of networking. And then whenever I solidified that yes, UX design was something that I wanted to do, my purpose in networking became more focused. So connecting with people to find a job ultimately, but then also to get feedback on my portfolio and resume, find out what kind of company cultures look like across different industries and like consulting versus in-house. So that's what it's been like in the past. And for me right now, it's like also like I really liked how it says reconnecting with people, from like my past who are also in like the tech field. It doesn't have to be limited to UX design, but also maybe like product managers or like they're software engineers now, but in other industries that are doing cool things. And so, yeah.
Do you have anything that you'd like to?
This
Uh,
is
don't
too
wanna-
good, like, yeah, perspective to add to like the total. But I think for the other one that I wanted to add is maybe like networking is also about finding mentors, right? Like it's not just what job can I land next, but what skill sets can I build by connecting with somebody else. So what I do now a lot of times is rebuilding that connection, that kind of spending of time with my mentors, because as I progress in my career, I probably have different questions for them. And then they have seen me through so much that they can give me feedback or give me encouragement because they see what I personally probably don't see about myself. So I think other than what they already said, that's the other part of networking I think plays a part as well.
So with with that in mind, I guess with that in mind,
Sure.
yeah. So in terms of then going about building your network and maintaining it, so one of the ladies that is kind of prominent in the UX space, I don't know if y'all have heard of her, Amy Santee. She's a career coach, would be very good to follow on LinkedIn. And she has an excellent article talking about basically effective networking takes a holistic approach. So she talks about building and maintaining your network through both macro as well as micro interactions. So this would be kind of an example of a small group interaction where we're together getting the chance to talk. And so that would be a micro interaction. And so I was curious, maybe Jane, how have you done both kind of macro networking as well as the more intimate micro networking?
Sure. Honestly, I'm more of a micro kind of person because I am an introvert. So cold calling somebody or reaching out is very intimidating. And so it's attending these events in person or virtually. Virtual being very low hanging fruit because you just kind of show up, you don't want to talk, that's totally fine. More of this kind of situation of like getting familiar with the community where when you talk to them, it's less intimidating as well. I think I don't know if it's micro, I think it's still micro, is I have been connected with people who are trying to get into UX by people I know. So that's a type of micro interaction where the network is building on itself in touch points, right? So then I open up the door of saying, yeah, absolutely, I'll mentor this person, but maybe that person is from Portland. I've never would have connected with that person without this middle person who knows both of us. So that's the way I kind of see it, is just the way I pursue it is personalized to me and what I feel comfortable.
Just wanted to add a comment on like those loose connections. I feel like that's where most of the value kind of shakes out because you know people, Carrie knows people. All of a sudden, there's like this Venn diagram of like people that are interested in things that we both do, but I don't know that person. And so, really, it's those loose connections that unlock mentors, unlock job opportunities, unlock learning events. So, definitely lean in and embrace those connections when people are like, hey, I want to introduce you to somebody.
And so I'm curious, it sounds like you guys do a lot of the micro network these days, but when you were for your job, did you do some of the more macro, as in like attending large events or conferences?
So I can that. So for the macro large scale events, that is actually how I found out about Summer Build in the first place. I attended a hackathon in, years I attended a hackathon, and Small Build was one of the sponsors for the event, and it was a very large networking experience. Like I'm talking, it was at our college, like hockey, like stadium. So it was huge. It was definitely very intimidating at first. I consider myself an introvert, but I was in a position where I knew that I had to put myself out there, and I really did want to meet new people and learn more about the career field. So I pushed myself into it, and I talked to recruiters at the event and about the field, and I connected with the TA and the talent acquisition manager, and I stayed in touch. And long story short, here I am. And then on the LinkedIn scale, whenever I did a lot of cold calling or cold messaging per se. So you all are also like in a certain, like a similar situation where you want to like, speak to a lot of other UX people. This is like my little like LinkedIn hack. So there are different avenues where you can try. You can do the college alumni route, or you can do it location based. So we're all in Houston, or you can also do it with a company. For me, I did the college alumni route, so I would go on LinkedIn, filter my college, and then type in UX designer or product designer, and I would call message these people and I'd be like, "Hi, like I came about some university. I saw that you're alumni, and then I'm also interested in the design field. Would love to chat." And luckily, like there were some people who actually replied to the message, and we had a phone call or a Zoom call, and we connected that way. Even though that felt macro, it was extremely micro because then I was able to have a one-on-one conversation with that person.
Um, that does make a lot of sense. It seems like a lot of times those micro interactions then lead to the more intimate micro interactions. So, uh, you were the next one? So, particularly in when you are reaching out to people, so particularly when you're new, you have a lot more chance where you're kind of cold messaging, like you were, Emmy. But I'm curious, how does it kind of feel from the other side, being contacted, uh, being asked for advice, etc. Speak a little bit on that, Julie.
I think that's a natural progression. Um, we as we all go through our careers, I'm having this moment lately. Somehow I became a grown up, and grown-ups are asking me for advice. When did that happen? Um, and so we definitely expect that. I think there's a respectfulness. So as you grow in your career, there's usually more things on your plate. And so like understanding when it takes a little time to get back, or if you want feedback on your portfolio, it might take you a couple days to turn it around. And I think just that respectfulness. And then there's also the like follow up because there are a lot of things on my plate. There are a lot of things in my inbox, and I honestly am not meaning to ignore you, but sometimes it falls to the bottom and I forget. And so a respectful follow up is usually like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that we do that. So I wouldn't be afraid to follow up. One of the things that I would say is
Do you have anything to add to that, Jane, in terms of like how it feels from the other side?
Generally, if people just message to connect with me on LinkedIn and doesn't include a message of how they found me, what they're looking for, I'm not going to add that person. But if there is a message attached to that, understand what they're looking for, I feel like I have the capacity, or I feel like I can help this person, absolutely we can connect, right? So I think that goes into the part of like be respectful, be meaningful, and intentional in how you reach out to people that you want to connect with. Was it just the macro aspect of things you were asking about, or was it
Both. So, in terms of, um, yeah, I mean.
The other thing is, I recently got connected with somebody out of work. Like she's fresh in my mind. I actually had a call with her last night, but I had to work overtime. So I had to cancel our appointment. She was super respectful. She was open to like rescheduling it. So it made it really easy on me to say like, yeah, like this weekend, absolutely. And maybe not, instead of the video call, can we just do a phone call? Like that flexibility helps us progress in the relationship as well.
Um, so one thing I'm curious about too is, so when you are in this position, you're doing a lot of asking. So I don't know if any of you can relate, but it seems like I'm asking too much. Um, and should I be someone to give back? Um, and I'm wondering if you would like to kind of talk to that.
Yeah, so I definitely felt that way before whenever I was early in my career and messaging a lot of people I didn't entirely know, and I felt very aware of that. I feel like this is simply asking this person who doesn't know me to call me or to like set up a meeting. So one of like my biggest ways of feeling more comfortable with a good ask and thinking about like how I can give back is what Julie and Jane mentioned, like being aware of their respectfulness and being cognizant of okay, how am I respecting their time and am I following up with a thank you message that is not just hey thanks for your time, like that's it, but has a layer of um, personalization. So like you mentioned, like the specific they gave on my portfolio and how I'm going to address it. Or even like down the line, let's say they get an article recommendation or a podcast recommendation about design or career stuff. Say, like, oh, I actually like read that article that you suggested and I really liked this point. So showing that you are following through with the advice that they gave you. Another way you can like show long-lasting like support and respect too is if you have them on LinkedIn, like give them a like on their post or like show that you're supporting them too.
Thanks for passing me the mic. I appreciate that. Can we go to the next slide, Julie? So we wanted to kind of ask the audience. So how have you guys kind of used networking? Uh, Open to anyone if you'd like to kind of share how currently you're networking. Sure.
Okay. I got a couple people, Julie, and then maybe over here. Grab the mic. Sure. I might have to come on up a little. Come take a seat on the bench or on this chair that they provide.
It's not a chain, so.
Chain or the chair.
Whatever.
Okay.
You can.
Hi, I'm Serena. Nice to meet all y'all. I'm really
flattered to be here, honestly. Um, I love networking. Networking is why I'm where I am right now. I've been in the field
Sorry, I
for,
was trying to ask like where you are right now. I guess you're getting to that point.
oh, I am the UX lead at a software company, um, oil and gas. So all of the gas pumps, where everyone comes their gas, there's software and all of those dispensers, we pull those IoT devices, payment devices, hardware, everything. Um, I started out, well, actually, COVID changed a lot of things for me, and networking is why I was thrown off my UX course. Networking is how I got right back into it. I do a lot of networking. I'm not from Houston. I've been here for almost 5 years, though. Anybody except for um,
You're like, is that why?
no, I moved right before in late 2008. I was a recent college graduate. Um, as a college graduate, I applied to probably over 200 UX designer. I kept being more experienced and more experienced. I did a lot of cold calls too. I was a creative design intern at the Nature and Science Museum in Dallas. And there I was really introduced to the passion of designers. I mean, I got in college because I networked a lot in college too. I always joined the American Advertising Federation. The my teacher was really passionate about it, and he was critical. Oh my gosh, I loved it. He would just tear us apart in class, and I was so shocked. But I was like, "Wow, you got to come with it if we're going to be in this class." So I loved that passion. Then I guess a lot of my macro interactions were going to big events, looking on meetups, and going through my college. And then once I graduated, I turned more to um, meetups and LinkedIn a lot too as well. Um, and I got interviewed a lot to be a designer, but I ended up not having the experience. So I took a technology boot camp basically to become a data analyst. I actually got scouted to do it, so I guess all my networking got thrown to notice me. So I did that, and then we networked a lot with the boot camp after we graduated, where folks like yourselves would come in and speak to our cohort, and you had to ask questions. You had to add people with messages, all these kind of things. Um, and I talked about UX so much, I ended up getting hired at a consultancy that did UX or wanted to UX. But since COVID, I lost that job actually, and I was back out in the field, and I just got a job as a data analyst. And then I always went in for lunches and met the people that I worked with, talked to directors, met people. Oh, I love UX. Yeah, UX here. And they're like, actually, we think about engineering so much, we never consider design. It's like a nice to have. Well, that's not the way you should think about it. So maybe I could help out. And I ended up becoming the lead at our software company doing that. So networking has definitely landed me where I am.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, Serena, would you consider yourself an extrovert?
To myself,
Yeah.
I'm very, I guess I'm a little bit of both. I mean, I spend a lot of time, like, when I'm not working, I'm by myself, crafting, DIYing. I'm like a mad scientist. I get into so much stuff. But I guess for work, I know that, I guess I spent a lot of time, I spent 12 years being a bartender and a waitress through college. And I found out if you want to make money, you got to learn how to talk to people. You got to talk to different kinds of people as well.
So I'm going to hand the mic back to you. Do you have any tips for people who may feel shy about reaching out or just generally engaging in new conversations?
I mean, really, I suppose what I would say is sometimes it's hit or miss.
Sometimes I've written just extravagant messages and they've said nothing to me. And I said, well, darn. But you just got to keep at it. And honestly, most people are really flattered when you reach out to them. And um, it's nice to feel like you can give back. People like to feel helpful. And so don't ever feel shy about it. I think people naturally want to help others. So go for it.
Thanks for the tips, Serena. So back to our panelists. Do you guys have any uh, additional tips on uh, basically how to engage with your network?
Sure. Where is it gonna go?
Yeah.
To go with Serena's point, I think it's really clear that we're talking about networking outside of our network or our group. We haven't talked about networking within our network, which is your actual workplace. Right? Like reaching out to people who you work with and know you personally in a way that they can help you. Because even if there isn't a department in your company that has UX designers, they probably know somebody else who's at a different company with UX designers, so they can make that connection with you as well. I really love that, like seeking out your opportunities. I think the thing that I'm hearing a lot is don't be scared to try. Even if you don't hear something back, it's totally fine. Just keep trying and you create opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, I know sometimes for me, I will in my head play out the negative scenario. Like, what is the worst thing that happens? I send this message and nobody replies. So that's so bad. Like, yeah, it's disappointing, but like, how long did it take me to craft this message? What is the potential upside? And the downside is, okay, didn't reply.
ChatGPT.
So that's something that helps me. Um, and then like we had a theme with the macro micro, right? You use macro to turn it into micro. Because really like the micro is where you find those interesting connections and people can remember you and people can give you personalized advice. So like over time, the way I approach conferences is completely different. Like when I was early in my career, it was all about the learning. Pick my topics about what were interested, like what was I doing right now in my project. And I think it's twofold. It's one, I have more experience that you can cover in a 1 hour talk. I likely already know. And then the second part is like going to the topics that are a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I'm still stretching myself to learn, but I'm connecting with people that are going to help me stretch also. And those are interesting connections to make.
Yeah. Um, I feel like I should have some quippy thing to say to that, but I'm at a loss for words. But can you change the slide? Um, so I wanted to again kind of ask you guys, so what are some of the challenges that you guys feel like you're facing with networking, uh, either um, personal challenges or things that you're facing external that you don't have any control? Um,
I've got one.
So to your point about networking with people you already know, I work for a very, very large company and I've not done UI UX, but I would like to. Trying to find UI UX people at my company that has several hundred thousand employees is really hard because they don't sit with me, they're not down the hall. And so and we don't have on our company directory, it may not necessarily even say UI UX because people kind of get to put their own titles, and sometimes they put something kind of silly or snarky, or like there's a guy who works on mainframes and his title is CTO of mainframe decodification. That is not, you know, so yeah, it's just hard to find the right people who can actually connect me, because I'm sure there are jobs, well, not jobs in this, but people that could at least be mentors, like offering a job, they could at least be mentors. So, advice for that one.
Any advice for finding the right people?
I don't have like a clear answer. I know like in my past experience in a large company, uh, there were pockets of UX in multiple and so trying to kind of follow like UX can easily get plugged in where you can say like there's an end user experience here, and if you screw it up, we're gonna lose money. And so like where is that experience happening and who are the people in charge of it? Does that kind of sort of help?
Yeah. That's a different angle. Also, this is a great community to find mentors. Honestly, Houston has such a tight-knit group of designers, and this community is very helpful to each other. That's how I felt like when I joined it, but also just being part of it for a couple of years. And so then they're a great opportunity, and then they can make the connections for that's certain.
I think that was great.
I'm assuming you've probably already done a LinkedIn search for just like people at your company and the title.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Check the usual hiding places of like marketing, IT.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. It's hard to find those too.
Um, does anybody else have another challenge that they're facing?
Kind of just like knowing where to start the conversation and like what to talk about type thing. And like, how do you know like which people to ask what questions? Like that sort of thing.
Oh, and then I heard a lot of noises.
She's like, oh, I got this.
Yeah, so it depends on like so have you done or like what kind of networking calls or talks have you done before? Like what situation?
Currently, I work in like a finance company, and so I've just been kind of like random. Like I just finished a boot camp, so I've just been connecting with people that have like also done that boot camp. But like most of them don't answer, and like and like it's very when I do like I've talked to one person, but their parents is always so busy. Like, I feel like I'm kind of wasting their time in a way. So I've just been like randomly kind of messaging people. Like with the boot camp, I also received like mentor help. They also just been very busy, so so that's kind of where it started. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know. So, yeah, so I guess I would say whenever you're approaching a conversation or like you have that meeting set up and you're about to do day before or so, you're essentially preparing for the meeting. Think about like what is your end goal? Do you want to learn more about what they do? Do you want to learn something specific about UX design or like UX research or prototyping? Uh, so think about what your end goal is and then approach the conversation from there. Whenever I was like first networking with people, my go-to like question at the beginning was just like so really it was like a reverse interview. So it's like, tell me about yourself. Like how did you get into UX design? And they always had like a fantastic story to tell. And from there just it was a natural conversation. So yeah, just approach like the story or approach the conversation as a conversation. Like you're talking to a real person, you're learning more about them, and see what questions arise from there. And then of course I have other questions prepared. I know I had a list of questions I would ask them beforehand too. So one of the great thing about designers too is that we always usually have portfolios. So you can take a look at their portfolio, see what their like other projects have been on. Usually they have a really cool about section. So you can like or help. Just kidding, but you can like see like their interests, like where they're from, and so you can add that layer of like personalization too. Um, talking to yeah.
To add to that, like be a designer when you're having that conversation. Practice curiosity. Right? Like if you don't have a question yet, it means you're still discovering. So learn about what they're doing and then use that as a guiding post. Because the more conversation you have, the more you start getting curious about like, yeah, they got into UX through research. What can I learn more about research? What are the methodologies? Maybe I'm interested in going around visual design more heavily than what skill set did they learn? What skill set should I learn in order to get into it? Or maybe you're approaching it as, hey, I've been contributing a lot. I'm not getting it across. I'm not getting hired. What's missing? Can you take a look at my resume? Like show up with curiosity of and goal in mind. So what are you seeking to learn from this mentor you're with? But if you're just starting out the relationship, curiosity is definitely good stuff.
They covered it.
One other thing, I wanted to kind of touch on, how many of you guys are like, transitioning from another field? At least two? Yeah, okay. So
At least two.
pretty much, essentially. Okay. So one thing I wanted to ask, is do you guys have any advice if you're coming from one of those non-traditional backgrounds where say like, you don't have a computer science degree or you're not from a graphic design background?
I love those stories. I came in through market research. And so when I was looking for the next job, I did a lot of networking, I did a lot of interviews, I applied to a lot of places. And really it was being very curious about what they were doing. And also showing how the skill sets I did have applied, right? So like when I'm doing research, like that has a much more direct application. But like I don't know, if you are in marketing, you're doing things that apply in the when you apply it to products. When you are working at a company and maybe you're an internal organization, you have customers, like if you're in accounting, you have customers that you're serving within that organization. How do you serve them? How do you build better processes? These are all skills that will translate into experience design. And so kind of apply experience design to that process, right? How do I make this person see that my skills apply? Also curiosity, you could ask them to help me articulate how the skills I have now apply to the type of work that we would be doing as experience design.
So basically are coming from a non-traditional background, how to kind of overcome that.
Gotcha. Also, not from a experienced design background. My major was social science and my minor was architecture with full intention of going into interior architecture. Long story short, I found out that there's a lot of connectivity between these two roles. And so the way I got into positioning in was actually seeking out internship opportunities, joining lots of hackathons, and video. I didn't go through a boot camp. I just learned on Coursera. And I worked with a startup as a free intern. So I built their process and ran the Google Sprint and you fucking doing it at the same time. So like building experience as you're going. But my first opportunity was actually an opportunity that I just went to a meetup, met people that setting up shop here in Houston. I said, do you have an internship opportunity here? They did. After I went through their hackathon, they were like, we're gonna hire you. So no internship opportunity needed. So it's a lot of like being out there, trying it out. Opportunities are 100% lost unless you do it, and it's 50% if you do it.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, I switched my major a lot in college. I switched it probably like 5 times. Uh, so I was always very curious in different things whenever I was in college, so that's one of the reasons why. And I found that's just a perfect combination. But anyway, so I had a psychology background and I had different internships or like student jobs, student leadership positions in adjacent fields. So like social media marketing, um, what else? Medical illustration was another internship that I had. And whenever I was applying myself to more UX related positions, I also did what Jane did and jumped on to build my experience. But I also made sure to highlight the transferable skills that I learned the jobs, from like marketing or like illustration positions, and make sure to highlight that during my networking calls too, and explain why I like, had that experience and like what I found interesting and how I could apply it to UX design.
Uh, Thank you, ladies. So we're gonna open it up to questions. Jasmine, do we have a couple minutes for questions? Okay. Any questions?
Anyone online? That's questions.
No, not yet.
Hi, I'm Noreen. Just to touch base on the whole networking aspect, I actually was looking for people in backstory on me. I'm transitioning. I used to be a teacher, and then before that, I was a client specialist. And like you, I also went all over the place in college. I double majored in supply chain and marketing, which are very different from one another, and a minor in psychology and sales. So I guess I was like not sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work with people. And the one thing that all of that had in common was like understanding certain things. Like with supply chain, it's understanding the product, marketing, understanding your customers, and psychology and sales is like understanding the person you're working with. And so my goal has always been to like work with people and understand, like who they are, what makes them tick, what they think, what they want, what they like. And it wasn't until while I was a teacher, the world transitioned because of COVID into like technological education and all of that stuff where I was trying to create like digital products for my fourth graders and trying to figure out like what they like and what they're actually going to use online to get them to actually learn. And through this, one of my friends was like, "You're literally doing UX design." And I'm like, "What the heck is UX in it?" So I know it's hard and no, I'm not doing that good. Like I'm just using colorful letters and everything and like all these other programs and stuff. And so it wasn't until they told me about it that I started getting like ads on so I was like, wait, this is actually really cool. So then I joined a boot camp and it was honestly a great experience. And so I'm at that phase where I finished my boot camp, I worked with clients, I have projects, and I'm, seeking full-time opportunities. And through that, I'm networking. And I actually reached out to Janmi Saludo, who I know is a part of this program. I know I talked to you earlier today. And I messaged her this morning at like 8 a.m. cold calling. And so she told me about this program and this organization for people. And so I looked them up and then I saw that there was an event tonight and I'm like, okay, I have to go. If this is an assignment from God, then I don't know. I have to go. So I'm glad I'm here. So with that being said, we touched a little bit on, educational background. And I feel like that is kind of holding me back with applying places. I don't know, like AWS, I don't know, that's what like networking is all about. But in terms of like, like applying to jobs and stuff like that, how would you recommend like, I don't know, standing out from your peers and making your portfolio stand out? Because everyone has a portfolio, especially when you're graduating from a boot camp, it's all similar. So as someone who is looking at these portfolios and looking at these, you know, masses of emails and stuff that are all probably from the same boot camps, et cetera. What do you look for when trying to find out?
Sure, I'll jump in.
Cut all of that.
I was all over the place.
You said you were a teacher. My first question was what grade, because you were clearly understanding those kids and finding out what motivates them and finding ways to influence their behavior. Those are all things we need to do. In order to yes, deeply understand our users and we're going to build something. The thing that I look for is how do you build teams? How do you build alignment? Because you're going to have to work with developers, you're going to have to work with stakeholders, you're going to have to work with clients, customers, or whatever. And so how do you build that shared alignment and bring everyone along to make sure that we're all working towards the same line in the sand because it's going to move? How do you build that alignment? Because yes, we need to deeply understand the user. That is table stakes. But being able to bring a team together and march
Also, your story will be a really good portfolio piece, by the way.
Make that digital product a case study.
Yes, absolutely. Because really what people are looking for when they're looking for is your mindset and your process. Did you consider the user? What research did you do? How did you come to the conclusion? Did you test it? Right? All of that is what we're looking for. The other thing that you were asking about is how to stand up above the crowd, make a beautiful portfolio, not portfolio, resume, actually have a link to your resume, to your portfolio, and then your LinkedIn profile is really important because a lot of the recruiting, actually we're having a conversation with our talent acquisition team before they left. They were just saying LinkedIn is super important. That's where we do most of the recruiting now. And having a presence there, telling a really strong story, is what matters. So as long as you can do that, as long as the link out to your portfolio, probably review that portfolio. If the portfolio has the right stuff, do that in a short period. So it just ties in.
So I can and I found each other. Not through directly.
And Nitin is our senior director of
Sure, yeah. I a little bit about how you said that you were a bit shy whenever applying to jobs. You come from an education background, and I think almost every single UX designer I talked to came from a different background. And so I know that really helped me whenever I was to UX design. I found that every single networking call, it was like, oh yeah, I'm actually from an economics degree, or I came from a business background, or like marketing or architecture. And so I was like, wow, like it's okay if I don't have a UX design degree. Well, like there's a handful of colleges that have a UX design degree, so it's okay. So I think too that's what makes UX design very special is that we are all coming from different phases of life and in different industries, and that's what we can like come together and bring that perspective in. And then we all have like that shared curiosity and deep, deep desire to understand people. So I think that combine like everyone's from a different industry and like that desire and curiosity that really makes it feel special. So yeah, don't feel intimidated whenever applying for jobs and like, you're from a different career.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Take the mic. Take the mic. Take it. Take it.
My voice carrying.
We have limited. You have to come
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so I'm totally going to date myself now. When I was in college, or when I was in early days of the career, this was not even a
Right.
user experience was just a theme, just a general sense. And everybody was doing it. I'm so glad that it is a field now, because all of you, with your knowledge of this field, now you are offering some discipline to it. And think about what this is. This is about user experience. When I was building products in my early days of my career, we were just thinking that, oh, this is something that user might be thinking, or this is something that they might be wanting. Now we are studying it as a field. That takes our products, all of our products, to a level altogether. So be proud of. I'm really glad that this has become a discipline in the last few years. Maybe is it a decade or
Probably.
so?
You keep putting numbers on it.
I know, yes. Me too. I said that out loud, and I'm like, okay, that makes me feel. Yeah. But yeah, be proud of being in this field. Uh, this is what is helping us make our products much better for our users. They are really um, becoming usable, right? As opposed to what we used to do in the past, and it was totally random, to be honest with you. So,
We can't do it without our software engineers either.
teamwork.
Relationship between software engineers and designers. Yeah. I mean, you don't
attention.
I mean, we gotta develop, we design the stuff and hand it off to them. So in my perspective, you have to have a good connection with the development team.
Heard a lot of stories how you need to protect what you created in front of the engineering team.
Oh, maybe our panelists can speak to any experience they have with that. Like your experience.
Yeah, a little bit of a, I guess it is a form of networking, right? So like building cross-discipline relationships is really important, and building rapport with engineering very important. I would argue that design is different from art because it has constraints. One of those constraints is what is possible, what is feasible from engineering. We are also usually building something that is driven by business. There are very real timelines and very real budgets. Um, Even though, like, oh yeah, we could probably do that, but it's going to take 6 months and a ton of money, and we need something in 2 months, less money. You're going to have to make trade-offs, and so having a very collaborative relationship where you trust each other, you're ideating, you're making each other better, is really where you need that Venn diagram to come together, right? You're not being the designer that's dictating it has to be this way. You're saying, here's the direction we want to go, here's the goal we're trying to achieve. What is feasible given the constraints we have with the technology, with the budget, with the
I think that's also cross education because that piece of understanding the technical restraint is something that we don't know. So we're educated in terms of that. But also we have understanding of the user based on our research or even accessibility considerations where we can set the limits of, yes, it'll be easier to build it this way, but it's not accessible. So we need to rethink how things are done. So like there is definitely that collaboration give and take. And when the team is trusting of each other and being open to feedback from each other, then that's the best way possible. I'll say there are tensions, but I mean, if you're on the right team, you build that rapport, then you can.
Are we good for time or? So, does anybody else have one last question? Yeah.
So just staying here. Okay, hi, I'm Linda. So my quick question is for those of you who have experience as a mentor, what kind of expectations you have from your mentee?
Sure. And this goes into the mentorship program as well, right? Like mentors are giving time that we hope will do the most for you, but without being you to look at what you need or what you want. So a lot of the expectation is you'll show up prepared, and so that I know I'm supporting you. And then, as Julie mentioned before, sometimes our schedules are very tight. So being the one that initiates the meetings, letting us know when you need us, that helps a lot as well. So the expectation is really showing up with intention, and then being the person that kind of drives the relationship, at least as you're building that relationship. And that's the way I think for a long-term relationship as well.
So yeah, basically it seems like the whole theme of networking is building and maintaining relationships. So. We've come full circle. So with that, I guess we'll end things. We do have our community channels, so you can go on LinkedIn. We connect with us on Slack. We also have an Instagram channel. So I believe at least, well, I think all of those we share like our events. We're also on Meetup. Am I missing anything, Jasmine?
Nope. It is Friday. Please join us. You know, hang out.
That's where the most active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see like the meetup link there first, probably, for that. Resources, jobs, just points, find people close to your area because I live out in the boonies, west of Katy. I don't always want to drive downtown.
You'll see me.
Farmers market. Yes.
It's from Katy too.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah. I felt weird. But I tell people and now we're like, oh, a coffee shop, and I know there's other people in the going to be starting to do that too. So it's definitely, but also you can follow us on others.
We are most active in the Slack. And speaking of co-working sessions, if anyone lives in like the northern part of Houston, we are we are gonna host another co-working session. I believe it's close to Cypress, like that's just the central northern area. So if you join the Slack, you can find out more information about that.
Awesome. And I just wanted to say on behalf of Solemn, thank you for coming out. This has been a great conversation. I'm glad that I love talking to people about their work so much that they would talk about it after work also. So thank you for taking time out of your day to come and spend more time with us.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, yes. Oh, yeah, that's true. I was gonna say if anyone didn't get their parking ticket validated now, now would probably be the best time to